you have the money in your pocket, should you pay cash for a house? Are there pros or cons or compared to financing?
Yeah.
I would think myself, it's like, wow, you're loaded. You can go buy a house for cash.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I might be wrong.
Well, so, I mean, if you think about somebody who's owned a home, let's say they've owned houses for, 20, 30 years or something like that.
We are back at your Friday edition of your Berkshire Hathaway bi-weekly podcast. Realty expert Jon Brodine. Realty expert Jon Brodine. I can't even talk right now. How are you doing, man?
Good. How about you?
Good. We're only a few days away from Christmas.
I know.
And do you have any big Christmas plans? What's up for the Brodine family?
Yeah, so we'll do Christmas Eve at my parents' place and then Christmas Day over at Carolyn's parents' place.
Okay, so all of those in town?
Yeah.
Also, no travel.
Yeah, no travel.
That is
my
nice.
My brother-in-law is coming. Which is nice because usually Christmas is the only time of year he comes to town.
Yeah,
so it's
yeah.
Good to see him.
Where's he live?
Excited. He lives in Portland.
Okay, sure.
He's an athletic trainer for their men's soccer team.
That's right. I knew that.
He's lived all over the place because it's tough to get a D1 job.
Sure.
The athletic trainers rarely leave, and those D1 jobs are really sought after. So he moved around a bunch of different places and kind of worked his way up, and now he's with them. They're Division I soccer. He played soccer back in the day. So
okay.
He's loving it. Yep.
Wow. Yeah, my sister lives down in Alabama. It's usually a lot of the times the only time I get to see her too, but she is not going to make the trip this year, which is a bummer.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're in the holiday season here.
Yeah.
So, you and I were talking before we went on the air, John, and I was telling you about my son sold a house a couple of years back during the pandemic, cash, unseen. The guy, I mean, it was weird. But if you can afford that, if you have the money in your pocket, should you pay cash for a house? Are there pros or cons or compared to financing?
Yeah.
I would think myself, it's like, wow, you're loaded. You can go buy a house for cash.
Yeah.
But I might be wrong.
Well, so, I mean, if you think about somebody who's owned a home, let's say they've owned houses for, 20, 30 years or something like that, there's a decent chance, especially people who are making that downsize move, that they've got enough equity that they've accumulated in their homes over the years that they can buy a house with cash just from the proceeds from their previous sale. Offering cash is always going to be your best chance at getting the best deal on a house. It's if you got 4 offers, and even if you're $1,000 lower than the highest offer, but you're all cash and all the other 3 offers are financed, sellers are probably going to take your offer.
Okay.
Because when you're offering with cash, you don't have to have any contingencies. If you're financing it, and it's going to be it's going to be contingent upon financing. It's going to be contingent on appraisal in most cases. With cash, you don't have to have any contingencies.
Yeah, I mean, do you even need an inspection or appraisal or any of that stuff?
Yeah, inspections are optional.
Okay.
If you have a ton of cash in the bank, like if you have enough money to buy the house with cash, but you're deciding to finance it, you don't have to have an appraisal contingency, because even if it appraised $100,000 lower than what you're buying it for, you'd have the cash to come up with the difference. But most financed offers have to be contingent on appraisal. Yeah, and inspection's optional for everybody. So you don't have to have an inspection contingency, and if you're cash, you don't have to have an appraisal or a financing contingency. You can really close as quickly as they can get title work done, which could be 2 to 3 weeks. You can buy a house in any condition. If houses are in bad enough condition, like a fixer-upper or a potential flip, sometimes those houses have they're not able to go with cash, or sorry, they're not able to go with finance. They're in such rough condition that you can't finance a deal on that house, and you need to buy cash, and that really, really eliminates the size of the buyer pool.
Oh, absolutely.
So you can get a fantastic deal. Maybe buy something for $50,000, put $100,000 into it, and it's worth
3.
Yeah,
whatever.
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean, house is so bad that you won't get financing.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So. What you can do also, so the main conversation is about whether you should have your house on a loan or whether you should have it paid off. You could offer cash, get the house in a bidding war, and then close on it, and then do a cash out refi. So then now you got a mortgage.
Okay.
So is it better to own your house completely paid off, or is it better to have a mortgage on it? You'd be surprised that this is actually more of a toss-up than you'd think. You'd think cash is always best, because then you don't have any debt on it. But so let's first talk about the advantages of owning a house that's paid off. whatever interest rates are at the time, like right now they're 6.125 or something like that. So you're automatically earning 6.125 on your money if you own your house paid off. If rates drop down to 4 and had you had a mortgage, you'd be refinancing. Then you're saving 4%. So it's not necessarily going to be you're saving 6.125 for the life of the loan, but you're always saving whatever the current interest rate is on the house.
Okay.
Or on the house mortgage rates in general. And that's guaranteed that you're saving that.
Sure,
It's
sure.
No possibility that you have like a negative return. It's always going to be you're saving that money.
Absolutely, yeah.
Gives you a lot more peace of mind and security. You know that if you miss some mortgage payments, you fall on some hard times, you're not going to get your house foreclosed on.
Absolutely, yeah.
So that's something that you really can't put a price on. For some people, it's more valuable than others, but it's a really good feeling to know that the house is yours and that they're not going to be able to take it away from you if you miss a couple mortgage payments. And then the other thing that a lot of people don't know is you can still access that cash if you need it. So you own a house paid off, and that money's not just tied up there forever until you sell it. You can do what we talked about just a couple seconds ago, is do a cash out refinance. So now you got a mortgage on the property and you can do with that cash whatever you want. Or if it's more of a short-term thing, you can do a HELOC, home equity line of credit. That's just as, taking that cash out of the house and using it to do whatever you need with it. And then you make payments and pay it back. So the money's not tied up forever. You're obviously going to pay a mortgage, or you're going to have an interest rate if you take that cash out, but you'd have an interest rate if you had a mortgage on it and kept your cash to begin with. So the alternative would be, let's say you've got enough cash to purchase the property outright and own it free and clear. The alternative would be taking that cash and investing it and getting a mortgage on the property instead. So like we said, current interest rates are 6.125. The annual yearly return for like the S&P 500 is 9.9. So, essentially if you do that, you're earning 3.375 more per year. The difference between the mortgage interest rate that you're paying to borrow the money and the return that you're getting having that money invested.
And what was that number?
The difference is 3.375. So your mortgage rate's 6.125, and the average, if you continued getting the average annual return for the S&P 500 that it's been over the last 30 years, if that continued into the future, you would be getting 3.375 more on your money, having the house financed, paying a mortgage on it, paying the interest, and investing that cash that you would otherwise have tied up in your house. Your house goes up in value by whatever the market goes up, regardless of whether it's paid off or if it's financed.
Sure.
The bank doesn't have any claim. If your house goes up by $200,000, it's not like the bank and the bank put up 80% of the money and you put up 20. It's not like the house goes up $100,000. It's not like 80 grand of that is the bank's. 100 grand, all of it's yours.
Right,
so
right.
When you own the house, you're benefiting from the appreciation regardless. With a fixed rate mortgage, you're guaranteed to keep the same rate, and you can still refi if rates go down. The thing about this is it's a little bit more risky because the stock market isn't guaranteed to make you money. You could have years where the stock market goes down, and you're not guaranteed to outperform your interest rate even. But if there's a high likelihood that you're going to outperform your interest rate, the math kind of says that it's better to finance the house and have the money invested and get a return for it. Now, obviously, the higher that mortgage interest rates are, the better option it is to have it paid off, because it's going to take a higher return for you to break even in your investments.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the lower that mortgage interest rates are at, like for example, when they were at 2, like for my house, I locked in at 2.625 back in 2020. So it doesn't make much sense for me to pay off my house, because right now you can get a high yield savings account that gets you 4%. So that's like it's not guaranteed that it's going to be that high forever, but right now you can get more money on a really secure investment in air quotes. If you have a really, really low interest rate, it makes even less sense to pay your home off and own it free and clear. It all depends on your risk tolerance.
Sure.
And how conservative or aggressive you're willing to be, and how much is that peace of mind worth to you to have your house free and clear that you own, and that the bank can't take it away from you. You know what I mean?
And there is no such thing as owning your house free and clear. I mean, you still got to pay your taxes, and you still got to pay your insurance. Which is something I'm stupid. I mean, I had no clue. I was amazed, that we paid off our house. And I'm like, yes, we got no bills now in the house. And then you go, wait a minute, what's this?
Yeah.
Oh, that's your insurance. Oh, what's this? Oh, your property. Because all that stuff comes out of your mortgage or your escrow or whatever, and you don't even think about it.
Yeah.
It's just there, you know?
I've got rental properties where it's not escrowed, so I have to write a check for the taxes and insurance for it every year. And it always hurts a little bit more to write a big lump sum check
sure
once
it
a year
does. Yeah.
than it does for it to come out as a monthly payment.
Right.
But yeah, if you're curious to what your costs are going to be once your house is completely paid off, just look at your mortgage statement and see how much is getting put towards taxes and insurance. Each month, because it could be your payments $2,000, but your principal and interest is only $1,400.
Yeah.
Taxes and insurance are $600. It's pretty normal.
Right, and then you wonder why it takes forever to pay off your house, But it is a great feeling when you do pay off your house, by the way.
Yeah, it's peace of mind that you can't put a price on. So, yeah.
So if you have the cash right now, if you had the cash to buy a $300,000 house you wanted to move, would you buy it cash?
With where interest rates are currently at, and, well, that's a tough question with where interest rates are currently at. I would probably... I would probably say I would finance it.
Yeah. I mean, even if you went half.
Yeah, because I'm younger, I can afford to take more risk right now.
Sure. I mean, go half so your mortgage isn't as much, and you've still got that 150 to do what you want with or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah, that's probably more of a that's a good move, because then you're getting some return, but you're having, like, the more equity you have in a home, the larger down payment that you put, the more safe you are.
Sure. Okay.
Because, if you go backwards on it, if the house loses value, you still have a long ways it could lose value before you're unable to sell it and pay your mortgage off. That's what we call being underwater. Where the house, somebody owes more on the house than it's actually worth. Rare scenario, but it does happen. Having more equity is always good. I think I would not be comfortable, like, let's say, owning rental properties where I had very little equity in them.
Sure.
Like, I always like to have, a pretty good chunk of equity in each one of those. And of course you can borrow against that equity too. So that would probably be my route that I go. But if I was nearing retirement, it might be a different answer. I'd probably be more likely to just own it outright, because you have less of an appetite for risk at that stage, and you've let your investments work for your whole life.
Sure. We've been doing this for a long time now.
Yeah.
And it's like you guys don't ever run out of anything to talk about. I know you claim you do, but that's just another reason to get a realty expert, because you guys have brought up topics on these podcasts over the last few years that it's like, wow, I never even thought of that. And here I try to kid myself and say, I'm learning more and more all the time with these Berkshire Hathaway people coming in. But then you roll in, John, with something like this, and bam, it's something new again that I had no idea.
Well, I will say, what have we done? Probably a couple hundred episodes, maybe.
Probably,
something like that. Yeah, it does get harder and harder to think of new topics to talk about. I got to really rack my brain to think of something decent to talk about these days.
But you know what? If somebody's looking to buy or sell, that's the reason they call realty expert Jon Brodine. And how do they do that?
701-213-5428, cell phone number. Check me out on all the social media channels, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Subscribe to me on YouTube. Posting content there all the time. Wherever you like to consume content, I'm on there. So.
All right, and Merry Christmas to you and yours, man.
Well. Yep.
All right, there you go. That's our Berkshire Hathaway bi-weekly podcast with realty expert Jon Brodine. Not sure what's going on Wednesday yet on Christmas Day. We'll have something for you. Till then, from all of us at Grand Forks Best Source and Berkshire Hathaway, have a Merry Christmas.